And the next step is to remove these horrible crusty old engine tins, air baffles. So there's probably a few different ways of doing it. I find that a screwdriver and a pair of pliers works lovely. Sometimes. Look at all that crud. Don't know if you can see it, but probably not. You can see it. Okay, so now we can think about moving the cylinders and pistons while you sweep up this mess. Okay, let's see if I can get one of these circlips out. Hopefully that's the place. That's one circlip. Rings are all, it's funny how when they come out the gaps are all almost lined up. I'm sure they didn't go in that way, but that's how it looks now. Anyway, so that's piston number, what is it? That's number 1. So we need to mark these. Swiping all the oil off the inside of the cylinder. See, there's I mean, where the nickersill is where the piston runs is actually quite nice. There's lots of cross hatching. Not sure if that's visible in the video. But right at the bottom there's a little bit of oil staining from dirty oil and whatnot, but that's okay. We'll measure these up later on. Just going to loosen the nuts for the rod. Just makes it easier while it's inside the case. If you don't put a rubber band on the rod, it will bind up the inside of the case. That's how close the tolerances are. One rubber band. Okay. After all that, let's go for number 3. There we go. Crud. Why would you focus? Focusing is boring, isn't it? Yeah. This one's got the same issue. Let's see. There's that circlip. So there's number 3. I've just popped the piston out of the cylinder, and as you see, top ring gaps there, middle ring's there, the bottom one's right there. So no matter where you think you're going to set them right, they always seem to find their own little happy space. Wrong space. Alright. Come on. Top. Okay. Can you see him there? I don't think that's in focus, but we'll see. pulled off cylinder number 5. Looks pretty good. Looks very good. That one wasn't so tight. Put on the other ones. Well, there is a head start. Just crack this one. Oh man. So each cylinder has a little copper gasket at the base for sealing, and also that's how you set your deck height. And these are stock 0.25 millimeters. So here are some 15 millimeter headed bolts which hold the chain ramps in. Crack these off. That's not really tight. This one is the one that's always not quite cleared. This one here. There we go. We'll talk about this in a minute. That's the lower chain guide. Just pull the bolt out, get rid of this washer. I'm going to hang on to it so I don't drop it inside. So this is the top chain ramp. And then this is the bottom one. Now it's a bit hard to tell because they're so old and used and worn out. So there's the colours pretty much the same. Right, they look the same colour. Don't know if you can see. I'll try and catch it in the light. But this one does have some pitting. So the chain's starting to eat away, the chain ramp's starting to eat away a little bit. The reason why I brought these out is to show you the difference in height. So if you look at this one here, the top one, don't know if you can make it out in the picture. Of course I'm wearing black, so that doesn't help things, does it? There you go. You can see this one's actually a lot narrower this way. It's not as deep. So that's the one that goes in the bottom right hand side of the case. The thinner one always goes in here. It's a brown ramp, all the other ones are black. And we're going to put new ones in anyway, so these will all go in the bin. Yeah, this one's got a bit of wear in it as well, so it's starting to eat away. Oh, my hand. Strong fingers. Strong fingers. Okay. Oh, don't drop it. Yeah, that one's got quite a lot of wear. It won't focus, but trust me, there's lots and lots of wear on that guy. Get in there. Come off easily enough. Whoop. And a spring, and then inside the washer, get rid of the washer, and hopefully my little trusty magnet will fish out the piston. And there's the piston. Okay, cool. Put those in the tub on as well. Can you see that? Yeah. This one's got a much longer spring. It's got a longer spring. It's actually got a little guide tube in the bottom as well. So if you look at, there's the bolt on the bottom. There's a little guide tube in the bottom just to stop that from binding on itself. Come on. There we go. Let's see if I can. Ah, yes, got it. Sorry about the cough. Well, this will be good inside, so this will be sent off to be cleaned and plated again, so that's good. Does that union come out? I think it will. Okay, that'll be sent to be cleaned after we get the water. So I think the next step is probably to take all the perimeter nuts off the case, and we'll take this case half off so you can have a look inside. And I'll do all the boring stuff later. Well, it's all pretty boring, isn't it? But we'll do the more boring stuff a bit later on. It's 13mm, so I'm just going to try and crack them all off.
There's 3 hiding here. My ratchet's going to fit in there. Probably not. I like to pull the washers off. Sometimes if you don't pull the washers off and try to pull the case apart, the washers can bind up on the threads, just making life a little harder than it needs to be. So it's always worth pulling the washers off a bit over a second. So this last one here, which I'm going to have to do manually. And slowly. Gee. Okay. Make sure it's all the first ends. I'll start here at the top and go much with all the washers. I'll use a pair of forceps because I get underneath the washing and lift them up.
Right, so I guess what's left to do now is to undo the main bolts, the through bolts. So these are a 15mm. Two in this side where the oil cooler goes. Ooh, it sounds like the case just relieved itself. And you're all probably saying to yourselves, oh, you forgot one. So there's a 17mm just inside chain housing here. Just in here. Okay. Should be a washer in here too. There's the washer. And 17mm nut. Okay, so I'm just going to go through and whiz off all the nuts. So we've got all those out. Now we need to collect the washers. Now, these through bolts, which go through the case and hold the case together, they have O-rings on either side, and I found that the easiest way, if you tap the bolt through, the O-rings can get stuck inside the case, and rather than doing that, I've found it's easier. Let's get this washer off. I found it's easier to undo the thread and just put a pick into the O-ring there, and it'll actually unthread itself off the end of the bolt. And you scratch. Okay, so that's what you get. Chewed up old O-ring. What you find is, because the through bolts, the journal through the case is actually an oil passage, when you pull the washers and the nuts off, the smell of the old oil that's coming out is actually pretty gross. Which is why regular oil changes are very important on these old air-cooled cars. So they're all done. So now it's just a matter of pushing through the through bolts, and that's what comes out. At the other end you can see there's the washer. You can see how the O-ring sort of sits in the end. That's really critical when you put these together, that when you tighten them up, you've got to make sure that you don't tear the O-ring, otherwise you're going to have a guaranteed leak.
Time to get rid of the rubber bands. Don't need those anymore, I don't think. Get rid of these gaskets. Just getting in the way. Okay, so what's holding this case together? Let's just double check.
Side's open. So we get this side open. That's cracked it. We're well and truly open. Get this side again, that's up. And we tap over here. Okay, we're open, I think. Alright. So I've removed all the through bolts and all the perimeter studs, the 17mm hidden nut in there, the other two dome nuts in the oil cooler opening. I've given it a tap with a mallet and it's just starting to come apart. So let's see if we can, I'm usually standing on the other side, but we've got a camera now, so this feels a bit weird doing it this way. Here we go. Ta-da! Okay. Well, I'm going to take the camera because let's have a look. Firstly, let's look in this side. Now, these bearings, which I'm assuming are the original one, but I don't think it's been rebuilt, look really, really good. Look at that. There's a tiny little scratch in that one. They look really good. Look at that. Normally this part of the case here at the bottom, underneath the oil pump, is full of sludge. But that's remarkably clean. In fact, this is a very, very clean case. Intermediate shaft, as you can see the copper is showing through the bearing, that's normal. But the rest of this case is really clean. Very, very happy with this motor. Alright, let's go and look at the other side. Just clean up some oil. Oh, I hate oil on the floor. So there's the 3.2 oil pump. I don't believe this case has been apart before. Just looking at the journals, the webs, see if look at their original machining marks. There's a plane going overhead now, that's great. The crankshaft looks really good. That's a really nice crank. Okay, this should just lift out if I'm lucky. Well, so there's a bit of plastic in the oil pump screen, which I'm not sure what that's from, to be honest. Could be chain ramp material. But we'll pull this apart and give it a clean out later on. Of course I'm dripping oil everywhere, that's fantastic. Time for the intermediate shaft. These should be date stamped. Yep, 1183. I don't know if you can see that, but it says 1183. And this one does have a little bit of minor bits and pieces of rubbish that have gone through the shell, but nothing major. And the rest of the shells are pretty much the same. Well, they'll all go in the bin, of course, and put new bearings in. Don't want to lose the dowel, so I'll get that out. Yep. Very important to lose that dowel that locates the number 8 nose bearing. Same as the other side, nice and clean, no real gunk. I mean, the oil's a little dirty, but I'll send this away for cleaning and it should come out pretty nice. Oh, she's a heavy bugger. Alright, crankshaft is securely mounted. So all of these rod bolts and nuts will go in the bin. Now, so this is the bearing at the bottom of the rod, so this one doesn't get all the force, but as you can see there's marks. I don't know if I call it wear, but there's definitely marks there from use. But the top bearing is the one showing all the wear. It's not through to the copper or anything yet, but that's the one that gets the brunt of the force from compression, so when the piston fires and the rod fires. Anyway, so let's, before we forget, a number on here. This is number 4. Okay. This is number 1. I'm not sure if I've numbered this one already. I think I might have. It'll be on the cap. Yep, already numbered it on the cap. Bearing back in the cap.
Are the last of the rods to get oil. So if you're going to spin a bearing, it's usually number 5 or number 2, but let's see what conditions. And about the same as the others, so I don't think there's any real issues with this one, apart from age.
Okay.
So there's the numbers on its side. That's number 5. Let's get number 2. I think this one's alright.
No matter how big your workbench is, it's never big enough, I promise you that. Alright, so there's number 2. That's number 6. Very similar to all the others. So this is number 3. But yeah, there's a few scratches. I don't know if you can see it. Okay. Can I show this to you? Listen to the radio off. So, crankshaft is really nice. But there's only one journal, the mains, which has a tiny mark, almost a scratch, but you can't feel it. But apart from that, the rest of it looks perfect. I mean, I'll measure it up, but I see no reasons why this crankshaft won't be good to get a clean and a micro polish, and possibly get this. There's a little bit of just where the crank pulley seal is. It's left you can see the shiny ring. I don't think it's going to need a sleeve, but I reckon they might have to polish that out for me. But yeah, that's a really nice crankshaft. Okay, so to summarise, the engine is apart and it's all over the place. Got the oil cooler, heads, oil lines, camshaft towers. Inside the box I've got airflow meters and all sorts of bits and pieces. Fan housing, alternator fan, bits and pieces. Camshaft tower nuts, camshafts, rocker shaft bolts and nuts, intakes, distributor cap, fuel lines, EFI harness. Over here we've got a case, and again the bearings quite nice. The case will be sent away for cleaning, and once it comes back I'll remove all the studs and measure everything up to make sure it's correct and within spec. There's the other half of the case. Then over here we have the pistons, which are luckily Nickersil barrels and compatible pistons. I'll get them all cleaned and I'll measure them and see if they're within spec. If they're not, then we'll make a decision as to what we do. It would be a nice a nice opportunity to up the compression. Oil pump, intermediate shaft, all the chain boxes and rocker covers, breather hoses, etc. And then over here there's a small plane going overhead, but over here we've got a tub full of all the engine tins, an air baffle, so that'll need to be cleaned and then they'll be sent away for powder coating. And yeah, here's all my through bolts and hardware. These will all be sent away. These will all be cleaned and plated. And so I need to find somewhere to put all this stuff so I can get my car back in the garage. So there we go. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed my boring video, and if you haven't, well, you shouldn't have watched it this long, should you?